Hi, and welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. I had a request a while back for a lesson for a song called T-Bone Shuffle by Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy's version of T-Bone Walker's T-Bone Shuffle. And it's in the key of A, and it's a really cool song featuring a lot of great Buddy Guy licks, early Buddy Guy licks. And what I'm going to do is go through the first verse, note for note, the best I can. And then after that, I'm just going to highlight some of the cool licks and ideas that Buddy uses in this tune. It's in the key of A, and the basic groove of the song, which is played by the bass. I don't think there's a second guitar on this, but the basic groove goes something like this. Just keeps going throughout the tune. So if you have a band you're playing with or have a second guitar player, that's what they could play to keep the song going. Now as far as what Buddy Guy plays, if you listen to this tune, I'm going to go through the first verse, the instrumental introduction to the song. And there are a couple instrumental verses, then he sings and he plays a bunch more, then he sings again and plays some more. So there's a lot of guitar in the song. So let's start with the first verse, and the first lick is something like this. And what I'm doing here is I'm bending up. I'm in the first position blues box for the key of A, bending up on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then I'm going to drag my pick down and get the 5th fret of the 2nd string, 5th fret of the 1st string, and then I'm going to wind up with my pinky on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. That's the first lick, and then he goes to this. Which is real similar. So he's doing the same thing again. And then I think I hear a 5th fret of the 2nd string before he goes into these bends. And he's just bending up the 7th fret of the 3rd string 3 times, I think it is. He does one of these licks. Check the tab for that. And that's the first part. So let's do that all the way through from the beginning. And there's the first part of it. And I can't tell exactly what he's playing. I think what he's doing is getting the 8th fret of the 1st string and then hammering on 5, 7, 5 on the 1st string. And then I think he's just getting the 7th fret of the 2nd string briefly, and then winds up again on the 5th fret of the 1st string. So something like this. That's what I'm hearing for the next part. And that's what I'm hearing. And this lick, you're going to hear this throughout the song. I've got my pinky on the 6th fret of the 1st string, ring finger on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and my first finger is going to be an anchor at the 5th fret on the 1st and 2nd strings. It kind of makes it easier to control that lick. But this time he's just going, letting it hang, and then playing a lick like that on the 3rd string. Check the tab for that one. So it's type thing, or on the 3rd and 4th string. Something like that. That sounds more like it. Right there. Goes to the 5. As it goes to the 5, he's going to do a typical Buddy Guy thing like this. With one of these rhymes. That's what I'm hearing. Check the tab for that. Whoop. One more time. So I'm doing that same bend to the 5th fret of the 2nd string. So it's then going to the 7th fret of the 1st string, to the 5th fret, to the 5th fret of the 2nd string. And then then I'm getting the first string again, and then the 8th fret of the 2nd string, winding up there. So that whole lick, that's a typical old school Buddy Guy type thing. Playing a little faster, that's what you got for that lick. So I'm starting on the 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 8th fret, to the 5th fret of the 1st string to the 7th fret, back to the 5th fret, and then I'm gonna get the 5th fret of the 2nd string, and then back to the 5th fret of the 1st string, 8th fret of the 2nd string, 5th fret of the 2nd string. So the whole thing. A little bend on the 3rd string, and then he wraps it up with this lick. And so this lick, I'm just going to do that same lick again and end with that. Then he hesitates, and then to wrap up the first verse. So one more time, that like those last 2 licks together. And that's approximately what he's playing. So if you go through the first verse, you get a lot of these typical Buddy Guy type licks. And we'll go through and learn some of the specific licks he uses throughout the rest of the song here in just a minute. Just a little bit that he uses throughout the song is this. And he uses this a ton in this particular song. T-Bone Walker, when he would play this, if he were playing his T-Bone Shuffle, he would probably use a diminished chord like that. But Buddy Guy and a lot of the West Side guys, they would play that kind of thing. So what I'm doing is putting my pinky on the 8th fret of the 1st string and my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and I'm bending a little bit when I pick it. And he throws in the little bass thing. And plays that lick. So there's a double stop that Buddy Guy uses quite a bit. Now later in the song, he does a variation on that, where instead of just picking it and bending it, he does this, something like a pull-off, which is kind of neat. So what I'm doing is, when I pick, I'm just pulling off. And you can mix that up, so he'll do. And that's a variation on that exact same lick. So that is the first of the many cool licks I'm going to show you from this tune. Buddy Guy plays in T-Bone Shuffle, goes something like this. And that's a kind of an Albert Collins type idea. And what he's doing is he's bending on the 3rd string, 7th fret, and then pulling off. As he releases the bend, he's pulling off and then bending a little bit on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Something like that. That's what I hear. Then he does this little bass thing. And what I hear is going from the 7th fret of the 5th string to the 5th fret of the 4th string to the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then back. So like that. Played fast, that's what you hear. Back to the 5th fret of the 4th string. So that's the first part of that lick. And then going to go to the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then go 7, 5 on the 4th string, and then 5, 4 on the 5th string. I'm lined up on the 7th fret of the 4th string with vibrato. So the whole thing. And that's kind of a neat little lick that he plays there. He plays that twice in one of the verses right before the vocal part. And the second time through he adds this to it, which is another cool lick. And what he's doing, sliding a double stop. My first finger is on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and my ring finger is on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. It's an A7 double stop, so he's sliding into it. And then he's coming back up, sliding basically from the 9th to the 7th fret on the 3rd string, and a little lick like that. So the whole thing. Along those lines. So there's another cool Buddy Guy idea from this tune, T-Bone Shuffle. Another idea that you hear in Buddy Guy's T-Bone Shuffle is when he starts going to the 2nd blues box, and he does a lot of riffs right in here. And so we're playing really between the 10th, 8th, and the 10th frets. 8th fret of the 1st string, 10th fret of the 2nd string. And in fact, he does the vocal, first vocal part, and then he goes into a solo, and he does something like this. And that's the first kind of a cool 2nd blues box lick. So what I'm doing is bending on the 10th fret of the 1st string, and then winding up on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And I'm bending to the 8th, then letting go to the 8th fret of the 1st string, and coming back to the 10th fret. Before I get to that, and then twice on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So one more time. And then he goes into this, which is another great Buddy Guy lick in the 2nd blues box. I'm starting from the 10th fret of the 2nd string, and then I'm just going 8, 9, 10 on the 1st string. So it starts here. And that's another great lick you can play in the 2nd blues box. Otis Rush used that one a lot. Freddie King used that one a lot too. 2nd blues box, he does something like this. In this. So I'm doing that same bend on the 10th fret of the 1st string, coming back, and then I'm going on the 8th fret of the 1st string with a slight bend, kind of a choppy picking, and winding up on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. And that's another kind of cool lick that he uses in the tune T-Bone Shuffle. Go through this. One of the things you'll hear a lot, and I haven't mentioned this yet, I've talked mostly about specific licks. This is just kind of a general idea. And when he's playing in the 1st blues box, there's a couple things I notice in the song. One thing is the way he plays on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. So you hear a lot of this. Just a lot of things going on within the 8th fret and the 5th fret. And he does some really cool little licks. He does this one where he's playing, I can't remember what he does exactly, something like this. He goes from the 8th fret to the 10th fret of the 1st string. So I can't remember exactly how he gets there. Something like this. And that's a neat lick. And he does these little runs too. Like when he gets to the 5, he'll do something like this. And you hear that later in the song. So that one, I'm going to go 5, 7 on the 2nd string. And check the tab on this when I'm bending up on the 7th fret of the 1st string. And a hammer-on pull-off, 5, 7, 5 on the 1st string. Winding up on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. And then that lick from the 5th fret of the 2nd string to the 7th fret of the 3rd string. That's the distinctive lick and all that. So he'll do something like this. which I really like, and that's all in the first position blues box. So you got a lot going on. I hear a little bit of this, where he's bending up on the 8th fret of the 2nd string and getting the 5th fret of the 1st string. Lots of variations. Another type of thing he does in that first position blues box, he does a lot of different licks on the 3rd and 4th strings. He does one I really like. It goes something like this. Like that. So I'm bending and then pulling off to the 5th fret of the 3rd string, so 7th fret to the 5th fret, and then back to the 7th fret, and then twice on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Let me do the whole thing. Something like that. And throughout the song, he's got this, just doing a lot of playing around in that first position blues box. So some of the ideas, that you hear in the first position blues box, he does a lot of different things, a lot of variety. It's not the same thing over and over again. From Buddy Guy's T-Bone Shuffle is something where I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but at one point of one of the last solos, he does something like this, where he's going to go. And he's playing, what I think he's doing is playing all the way up here, and he's an A, so this would be a 2nd position A bar chord, and what I hear is, so 15th fret to the 12th fret on the 1st string, and you can play, there's an A shaped scale right in here where I'm on the 2nd string between the 13th fret and the 15th fret. You hear that? And I can also throw in that note, 14th fret of the 3rd string. He plays something that I think he's playing in that position. He could be. I just don't hear anywhere else where you could play it the way he does. So I'm thinking. You can also throw in the 18th fret, 16th fret of the 2nd string as well. So that idea is one that he uses in the tune. Now, thinking back on Buddy Guy's T-Bone Shuffle, we've gone through most of the really distinctive licks that are in that tune. Everything else he plays is either just kind of improvisation in the first position blues box or the 2nd. And I've touched on the things like the hammer, the pull-offs, which is kind of cool. And he does a lot of just little subtle things with the first position blues box that I think makes this song really, really great. So there's a lesson for T-Bone Walker's version of, Buddy Guy's version of T-Bone Walker's T-Bone Shuffle. And whoever requested this, another great idea, great song, and I hope this lesson helps you out. If there's anything I skipped over or missed, make sure you tell me. And I will attempt to tab out the entire first verse on each of those verses, each of those licks, and I'll try to put them in the same order that I taught them here. In fact, I will, so it's easy to follow. I will see you again soon, and in fact at the end of June I'll be starting my next batch of lessons. Consider this just an extra. See you later.